Is it even possible for employees to like you all the time?
I don't believe it's possible.
I can see the whole wide world with these two eyes, and I can be whoever I wanna be, 'cause it's my life.
Hi, thanks for joining us for another episode of Ask Spurrell CPA. Today we're talking about should employees always like their boss. So I have Trevor here with me today. Trevor from Inspired Method. So Trevor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thanks so much.
Yeah, how are things going on the Inspired Method side?
Really good. We're consistently making new videos and new content, just like we're doing here with Spurrell Associates, and because it is a vital role that we have to do in order to win with SEO. So
Yeah, for sure.
love it.
So the quote that we have here today, talking about should employees always like their boss, it's a Jim Collins quote, author of 6 business books. It says, "Those who build great companies understand that the ultimate throttle for growth for any great company is not markets or technology or competition or products. It is one thing above all others, the ability to get and keep enough of the right people."
Very key.
So in the stat that backs it up, Industry Canada, it says 50% of all Canadian small businesses fail within 5 years, and 23% of those failed businesses will list that their team was the reason that they failed, making it the third most common reason that business owners will list for failure. And the story that we get here, business owners, they confuse being a leader with being someone's friend. A little bit of a dicey topic here, a little bit controversial, but we'll dive into it. So Trevor, what do you think the questions that these business owners should be asking?
Well, is it really beneficial that your employees like you?
It's probably ideal if your employees like you, but we also have to remember, is it practical all the time? So
Right.
I mean, although I think it is beneficial if the employees do like you, it's not probably 100% possible all the time.
Right. So, will having a compelling mission increase positivity in the workplace?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, business is tough. People are going to make mistakes. Customers are going to be unhappy at times. There's going to be, time pressures on everybody, and everybody also has their own personal lives that they're dealing with as well. And having that mission that you're doing something more than just getting a paycheck, I think it gives that extra level of satisfaction that everybody in the organization can draw on when times are tough. They realize that the work that we're doing, it matters.
Cool. So, Josh, how does working hard help employees to like you?
Well, I think working hard, showing up early, staying a little bit longer, when the employees see that the leader, the boss, and they're giving that extra effort, they don't resent the effort that they have to put in. If they see that the boss is working 20 hours a week and they're working 50, they might not like you as much, and they might not be willing to go that extra miles. And so when you're asking them to do things that, quite frankly, you won't, that's probably where a lot of the friction comes from, I believe.
Yeah. So having do as I say, not as I do,
100%.
kind of thing. That's getting people's animosity up when they think, oh, that boss, I just work for this guy, and they feel that resentment towards them. I worked construction for many years, and there's times when you definitely feel that.
Yeah.
Someone's riding you hard, but they're not riding hard themselves.
Yeah.
But,
Then you don't see them for months, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Josh, how does having values and being consistent to those values help employees?
I think it takes some of the ambiguity out of it for them. So without those values, if they're not outlined for the employees, they're not really sure what they're trying to hit. They're aiming for a moving target.
Right.
But if there's a set of values and they're written down, and the boss and the company they follow them as consistently as possible. People, I think they respect that.
Okay.
And they're not going to be rubbed the wrong way when they're asked to do something that's consistent with those values and consistent with, the employer who's living up to those values as well. But people really, they do appreciate the consistency, right? If you're, to correct someone, and they have no idea why they're being corrected, and they don't know that this is important to the person, well, of course they're going to resent that, and that's going to create that animosity because They never knew it was, people don't like to be corrected. They never knew it was important to begin with, so they never had a shot of avoiding that awkward situation at all. So
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So what is the natural reaction when people are held accountable to set standards?
So here, this is going to be that natural reaction. So if you want to hold people accountable to those set standards, employees they're going to fall off the track once in a while, and you have to hold them accountable, and you got to tell them that is not up to the standards. That's not our protocol that we're following here, and they're going to resent that initially. That's just how it's going to happen. There's very few people who will come in and they'll say, okay, yeah, you're right, type of thing. And even if they say that, there's probably a small part of them that just says that, why is this guy coming down on me today? Does he know how hard I've had it last week or last night? And so they're gonna resent, when, at least initially, being held accountable to any standard. It's not going to be the easiest conversation. You have to expect a little bit of resistance, and if you want to be liked all the time, you'll lose that ability to hold people accountable to those standards, which are important.
Right. Kind of like parenting.
Yeah. Well, your kids like you 100% of the time. Maybe, but you'll probably have awful children.
True story.
Yeah.
So what is the natural reaction when you push people to achieve more?
It's similar. It's kind of the same. Some people are naturally driven, but some people, even if they're driven, sometimes they'll get stuck in a rut, right? And in order to get them unstuck, you have to give them that gentle or sometimes not so gentle push, and they're probably that's going to cause a little bit of friction as well, and that is going to cause maybe a little bit of initial resentment, but it's necessary, or else you end up with people who are really stuck in the organization, and they might be good people, but if you can't get them unstuck, you can't move forward as an organization.
Right. That makes sense. So is it even possible for employees to like you all the time?
I don't believe it's possible. If you're really, if you're striving to be, the best in your marketplace, I don't think it's possible for employees to like you all the time. Anybody who has ever played a sport, even the coaches that you like, did you like them all the time? I don't think that's how it works. They should like you. It's beneficial if they like you. If the overall consensus and the overall feeling is positive. But for them to like you at every specific moment is probably a fictional situation that some business owners, unfortunately, they're trying to pursue that, and to the detriment of their business.
So more along the lines of getting respect from your employees, not necessarily them being your buddy.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So do most people value seeing progress within themselves and their employer?
Yeah, it's one of the things that people really do value. They value seeing that their lives are progressing. Both professionally, like their individual skills, if they feel that they're doing the same task at the same ability forever. Eventually there's resentment from that as well, too. And the same thing working for an employer, and if that employer is stuck doing the exact same thing all the time, they're not growing. Employees tend to get bored with that as well. Some people will stick around for that, but there's a lot of employees that if they don't feel that they're growing, or if they feel that they're working for a company that's not growing, that engagement level, it falls off the map, I think.
Okay, so if you don't push people to succeed, they could resent you anyway?
There you go. There's the dichotomy. So if you avoid that initial awkwardness of pushing people to hold them accountable to standards, or avoid that awkwardness of pushing people to progress, they will you'll have less issues. Initially, you're going to have less issues, or you're going to be able to avoid that awkward conversation for a while. But then eventually, they're going to resent you anyways, because they feel like they're not growing, or they're working for a company that's not succeeding or growing. So it's kind of, do I want to have that initial awkward conversation earlier, or do I want to have it later? But the problem is, once you have it later, if they're happy that they're not progressing, progression is not something that you can solve overnight.
Right.
So now you have an employee that's unhappy without progression, but they might be 6 months or a year or 2 years from a progression point that they're actually happy with. So now it might be absolutely impossible to get them back on the track because what they want is too far away. So I would rather have the conversation earlier, rather when I can do something about it, than later.
That makes sense. So what happens if you push employees to achieve more and they succeed?
So then, the idea we talked about, ultimately it is better if the employees do like you. But if you push them and they achieve more and the company achieves more, now they're actually happy with you. They'll go back and they'll remember that, even though it was, maybe a little bit difficult or awkward when it was talked about, holding someone accountable to a standard. If they see that standard achieve long-term results for the company, they'll value being a part of it. And at the same time, if they were stuck and you gave them that push in the right direction, and it allowed them to achieve more and allowed them to progress, now they're going to like you. And that, I would suggest that's probably a little bit more of a valuable that it wasn't easy. The best things in life aren't easy.
Right.
But they actually achieved something of some merit, and something that was maybe a little bit difficult, and I think that's gonna garner a little bit more of a permanent respect.
Okay.
Rather than just an initial. I like you because this is easy.
Right. Yeah. You seem like a cool guy. Yeah.
Exactly. We accomplished something here, or I accomplished something here, and you're a part of it. You're the person who played a role in it and helped that along. I think that's the more valuable thing.
Yeah. And people like to be on a winning team.
100%.
And they like to win.
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't like to win, well, are they really a good fit anyway?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's what we have here today for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, hit the like and subscribe button so we can continue to deliver you tips on how to beat the odds at business. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and we'll do our best to address them in a future video. Thanks very much.